Every time I use the subject of today's episode, my husband is quick to point out how I shouldn't. He loves to tell me about all the injuries this common household item causes, and as much as what I do depends on my hearing, I can't help but continue to use it every now and then. And I have a feeling you might too. You're listening to The Story Behind, the extraordinary history of the ordinary. I'm your host, Emily Prokop, and this is the story behind cotton swabs. But first, a quick message. Since I've taken my hiatus, there have been a number of new listeners who have just discovered the podcast, which I am so grateful for, and I'm happy you've joined us. If you're looking for more things related to The Story Behind, be sure to visit the website, thestorybehindpodcast.com. Follow The Story Behind on social media @StoryBehindPod, and we also have a Facebook group called The Story Behind Discussion Group, where members can share trivia with one another. Thank you for subscribing to the show, and enjoy The Story Behind. Hopefully the introduction didn't scare you off too much when I talked about today's topic. We'll discuss more of the injuries later in the episode, because what usually causes the injuries is actually something the makers explicitly tell you not to do with the product. But cotton swabs can be used for everything from makeup application to cleaning hard-to-reach spaces to arts and crafts projects to pretending you're jousting on a miniature version of American Gladiators. If you don't know what American Gladiators was, go ahead and find some videos on YouTube to see some of the finest hair and spandex my childhood was made up of. But back to cotton swabs. In the 1920s, Polish-born American Leo Gertzenzang was watching his wife wrap cotton around a toothpick and use it to clean his children's faces and ears. Although what she fashioned worked for the job, using a toothpick wasn't practical for obvious reasons. Leo decided to tweak the design, and in 1923, he began marketing what he called baby gays. They were also originally dipped in boric acid, which was used more frequently at the time for household first aid. But when the U.S. attorneys reported that microorganisms could be found on the cotton swabs, and the small amount of boric acid wasn't effective enough at killing them, more than 200 packages were seized and destroyed. The name was eventually changed to Q-tip baby gays. The Q in Q-tip stood for quality. Eventually, Baby Gaze was dropped, but the Q brand wasn't just for tips for a while. They came out with Q soap, Q cream, and Q talc. But Q-tips were what found success in the long run. For decades, the product was made from wooden sticks. But in the 1950s, Q-tips bought Paper Sticks in England, a company which was known for making sticks for lollipops and other confections. Changing from wooden sticks to paper sticks was the last big physical change to Q-tips as we know them today. But as cotton swab usage went up in popularity, so did trips to the emergency room for users. By the 1970s, there was a warning label placed on boxes saying, "For adult ear care," and warnings against using them in ears. But there actually might be some science to why we can't seem to stop putting things in our ears. Our ears contain sensitive nerves and nerve endings that, when stimulated, causes pleasure for us. Believe it or not, using a cotton swab to clean your ears actually takes away the protection earwax was made to create for us. Ears are self-cleaning organs, and sometimes when cotton swabs are inserted, they actually push some of the wax deeper inside, which could cause an ear infection. But if you're not keen on letting your body do the work, doctors say you can clean your ears using a tissue wrapped over a finger, or they recommend drops to help. We talked about probably the most common thing cotton swabs are associated with, and why you shouldn't do it. I'll spare you the headlines, but if you do a Google News search for cotton swabs, you'll find plenty of stories that have finally convinced me not to clean my ears anymore. Since probably the most common usage associated with cotton swabs is ill-advised, what should you use cotton swabs for? They're great for little cleaning projects you probably haven't thought about until now, like cleaning your small electronics, your hairdryer, your faucets, vents, or keyboards. Or you may want to keep some in your car for on-the-go detailing. And you can never have too many if you've opened up an electronic only to find the battery completely corroded, in which case, a cotton swab could be dipped in vinegar and water and used to clean the corrosion. And quite possibly my favorite idea to keep the kids busy this summer is removing the cotton from the swab and lightly dabbing pollen from a male flower to a female flower to help with pollination. One thing I didn't know about the word Q-tip in particular is it's used to help police officers keep their cool. They use it as an acronym for Quit Taking It Personally. But above all else, please don't use cotton swabs for your ears. I promise I won't if you don't. Information for this episode was sourced from qtips.com, Mental Floss, The Washington Post, and more links which can be found in the show notes at thestorybehindpodcast.com. Over in the Story Behind discussion group on Facebook, we have a weekly post called Trivia Tuesday, where members of the group can post their trivia to get read on the show. Although you can post any fun trivia you come across at any time. I have a few weeks to catch up on, so bear with me, and I apologize for any I've missed. Garrett posted he learned about a bomb that was dropped in Philadelphia in 1985 that burned down 61 homes. Moxie posted the most highly decorated American war dog was a Yorkshire Terrier. Jen posted that she discovered that the fruit-striped gum zebra is named Yipes from Judge John Hodgman. Jeffrey learned Charles Dickens' novel Bleak House is the only one to contain a female narrator. Moxie posted about a decaying great white shark that's at an abandoned wildlife park in Australia. Kathy posted that one of the possible causes of hysteria in Salem that led to the witch trials may have been ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that when eaten could cause hysteria, and the conditions in Salem at the time before the trials would have been just right for the fungus to grow and spread. Jeff posted, okay, I always forget to leave a trivia find, so here it is. The band The Smithereens wrote a song called A Girl Like You for the movie Say Anything, for the boombox scene with John Cusack. The song includes I'll Say Anything in the chorus. In the end, though, the movie producers went with Peter Gabriel's In Your Eyes for the boombox scene. Carmela posted she found out the reason we refer to movies as flicks. The old projectors used arc lights that would flicker. People started calling the cinema the flicks. Projectors got better, but the name stuck. Brett responded to this by adding that trailers are called that because they used to come after the show, until someone realized the audience was walking out before seeing them. Then they were placed at the beginning. Brett is also a super listener in the Story Behind discussion group, and he posts daily the fun trivia that he learns. So I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Brett for posting so much. And I'd love it if you join the Story Behind discussion group on Facebook, so you can share your trivia any day of the week, not just Tuesdays. This episode was brought to you by the Story Behind executive producers, who support the show and keep it going, and who get access to the full scripts of these episodes before they even go live, and a bonus episode every month. If you'd like to become an executive producer, head on over to patreon.com/thestorybehind. Thanks for listening.